howdy, friends and floorheads. It is Thursday night, which means a return to Raven's Land. It's time to play some Forbidden Lands. It feels like forever since we've played because it's been forever since we've played. When we last left our adventurers, they made the interesting decision to go back into the Stone Loom mines after a tremendous success before that and losing poor Aldrich. So, what a better way to haze Silva than to bring her into the mines, which they
You
have
forced our
done.
hand, Craig.
Silva encountered with the others a group of demons, which almost got the best of Silva, but she ended up coming out of it okay, as did the others. They continued going deeper, exploring a different branch of the mine than they had before. They ended up, unfortunately for Osric especially, they found the body of the dwarf that they had left when they were escaping the first time, which had a pretty profound effect, I think, on Osric emotionally. As we had a bit of an Osric outburst, which we have not seen a whole lot of. We then had Osric continuing in the direction that he believed that this dwarf was headed before it died, and came to a large cavern. And the cavern had two ledges, the ledge on the side of where you guys entered, or in this case, just Osric, because the rest of you are still in the hall in the tunnel. And then the other side, and there's about a 10-foot gap between here. There appears to be no bottom that's visible to this cavern, though, Osric, you did look up and notice about 15-foot high ceiling. So about just shy about 10 foot above you is the top of this cavern. You could see that at one point there was either a natural or a carved stone bridge that connected both sides, and that has since gone away. More interestingly, maybe there is remnants of what may have been some sort of wood bridge or plank or something that spanned this at some point, more recent than a lot of things that you've seen here in the Stone Loom mines, but it's been destroyed and there's splinters of this wood both on your side as well as that side. And as Ostric really started to kind of gauge what you were going to do, you got a whiff of something coming up from the bottom of the cavern, and it was a gaseous smell, a flammable smell, a methane smell. And immediately Osric recognized that the air in here could be flammable, and in time told Vasilla to stop with the torch and to go back. Vasilla has backed away holding the torch. They can barely see Osric now as he stands at the edge of the precipice of this cavern. And let's go ahead and start there.
And so we're saying that there was a wooden bridge of some sort, but
I'm
it's been
saying
destroyed.
there's shards of wood on both sides of this cavern.
And in the faint light I have, I can't see any other way across this cavern, and it's too far to jump.
Too far to jump. The walls, like the edges of it, seem pretty smooth. I don't know if anybody is quite adept enough to comfortably climb up or down it. Maybe with some rope and stuff, you could start to head down, but your light goes a good like 12, 13 feet. The torch does. And so you know it's deeper than that.
Hmm.
I I'm sure I'll mention that you smell the gas and that there's a concern, and I'm not sure that there's a way across.
And we can't really see anything of significance on the other side.
You can see that it then continues on, right? So you can tell there's some sort of portal or door, and it's not, I don't mean door like closed door, like a portal on
Mhm.
the other side. So almost a mirror image to where you are, but you can't see where that leads to. The torch light doesn't quite go that far, unless Vasilla wants to take the torch into the methane room. Then you probably could see across.
Right, for 1 second while everything lit up, yeah. Um, and from where the dwarf body we found was heading, as far as we know, this is, like, the only way he would have gone?
You have not seen any branching from there, right? So assuming he was headed this direction, there's been
Mhm.
no alternative branching that you've seen.
Mhm.
Now, that being said, you guys, there was other places that you've not explored, right? The idea that brought you to here is that you recognize that there was other avenues. One that was giving a heavy sound of water that you headed towards, and then Sten, I think smartly, you said, "Hey, we need to rest. We need to patch up Silva a little bit. We need to find a place that's safe." And
Mhm.
I think that's what led you in this direction.
Well, I'm not sure I qualify this as safe.
It does seem a little safer. Like if something's going to
Well,
come from
un,
that side,
right, unless things are flying or climbing, like
oh,
all the things we've
like they
fought
do,
in this mine.
like they do in here. That's true.
Yeah.
But what could
Well,
be making that smell?
Oh,
Not
it's
would I
just
something
know
a
this?
leaking up
pile of
from
dead
down
dwarves, is
below.
it?
We don't. You don't. So you don't have anything else in that bag that glows that isn't a fire, do you?
Are you talking to Silva?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Oh.
I think all light is going to be
Grab
some
the-
sort of flame
Yeah, I
base.
don't think there's any,
Oh,
magic light rocks.
what about the magic
in this
flute?
universe.
I mean, that doesn't let us float, right?
No, but it actually it was illuminescent, if I remember right. Is that true?
Yeah, but I don't know wherever Vasilla wound up would be.
Oh yeah, I don't know that I would suggest we want to play it, but
Yeah.
it itself was.
And if, as you mentioned that, I'm gonna look at Stan and be like, yeah, I don't. Maybe a last resort.
Mm. So, have we passed a spot in this travel, like any cul-de-sacs or anything that we could make into like a defensible camping spot? Do we think? 'Cause I know Silva's pretty beat up. I'm not at my best.
So if you were to head back, if you remember, there was kind of this very steep incline down that kind of got you here.
Mhm.
They had a series of
Mhm.
ladders. There was a couple of what appeared to be very similar type smaller tunnels that these insectoids had made that
Mhm.
that were a part of that cavern. You didn't hear anything about it. Um, there was a small antechamber that you would have two exits, two entrances. I think that's might be
Mhm.
the best you can do.
Mhm.
And there would be room for you to try to make camp there.
Well, unless anybody has a clever idea for trying to get across this thing, I think our best bet might be to try and rest up and figure out what our next steps are.
Yeah, I don't have anything new.
Yeah, and like I want to look. You know what I mean? Like to see if there's like a lever or a I don't know, a
Like a passage that the dwarves are
silly
hiding.
plank off to the left, or something that would be a mechanism by which this could be crossed that would be uh like secreted.
I mean,
Mhm.
I know in the past up at the tower we've done a thing like, Stan has shot over an arrow with a rope tied to it. I'm not sure since we're looking at stone, I'm not sure I could
Hmm.
sink anything in solidly enough to bear our weight.
If you want to do a scouting roll, Osric, or have somebody else do a scouting roll with a +1 die for an assist, I'd be up for that. And let's see what kind of successes we have. And I can give you as much information as your successes deserve.
I'm not a
Yeah,
great scouting roller.
I'm fairly good
I
at
would
it.
imagine Sten is.
I'm
yeah.
pretty scouty.
So what I'm imagining, if you guys are okay with, is Osric, saying, let's look, let's everybody like eyes to the walls, right?
Look for something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there must be a way across.
I'm
Right? Why would he
sitting
head
at a
this way?
5, or the dwarves weren't trying to come this way. One quick question, I guess, before we get to that: was the wood rotted out? Is it like freshly shorn?
Interesting.
Not burnt though.
No.
Okay. All right. So if we're saying I get 1 die from assist,
Mhm.
let's see how we do. Not bad.
Not bad at all. 2 successes. So I'm going to try to give you 2 successes worth. You guys tell me if this is worth 2 successes. Everything I'm going to confirm that I'm going to confirm everything I've inferred.
Mhm.
Right. So Sten, looking at the wood, definitely broken within the last maybe month or 2, but it could have been yesterday, right? But just picking up the wood, feeling the inside of it, there's no wear or tear on it. Almost the only explanation is some sort of plank that was put across this gap, maybe of wood. There doesn't seem to be any place that where a wood bridge would have been constructed. So
Right.
something makeshift must have been here at some point. Definitely the walls are not going to be easily or safe to try to traverse. That little antechamber that we talked about, probably the safest location for you to make camp. So we'll go ahead and put that into place. Let's work on the second success. Sten, as you kind of get closer and closer to the edge of this cavern, obviously being safe, and I want you to imagine kind of the edge of the cavern, but there's a small area of the stone where the bridge started, that stone bridge started, right? And as you really get out to that level, a breeze comes across the cavern from the other side, and you get the strong smell of fungus. And not like rotting fungus, mildewy fungus, but like mushrooms, like edible fungus. And you also pick up the faint sound of water, not nearly as strong as what you had left behind for later. But you get the sound and the smell. You get the sound of water and the smell of mushrooms coming from the other side.
So if there were some dwarves here trying to hide away, that'd be a good spot for it. Or if not, it'd be a good place for us to hole up if we need to.
Unless someone's. So I have had an idea. What about the things that have rungs that we came down ladders? What about God, my memory is.
Words are hard, man.
They're called ladders at Forbidden
Oh,
Lands.
is that what? Oh, okay, ladders.
In this universe,
Yeah, the ladders. But what are they? Can we use one of those as a plank across?
were any
They're
of them
long
intact enough?
I don't recall. I remember that they one peg broke at one point and sent one of you guys tumbling, right?
Yeah, that's I worry if they're strong or sturdy enough. I mean, if they are, that's a great thought. If
But we can at
one
least
of them's
inspect
long
them,
enough.
right? See if there is one that is
Sure.
sound
I
make.
forgot about
So
these.
I would allow a crafting roll to determine that. If you guys want to head back to that great kind of almost shallow cliff, where there were some old ladders.
Right.
But if you want to do a crafting roll, is someone going to go check them out?
Definitely, let's go check them out. That sounds like a thing that's worth.
Yeah,
doing.
we should stick together. But yeah, let's go have a look.
So,
Unless you have any, if that pack is like a Mary Poppins number, and you can pull out a 20-foot board out of your backpack.
I'm afraid I don't have anything like that. I can probably have some extra ropes or hooks, but I don't think I can pull out a full-on 2x4.
The ladder's a good idea, though.
maybe if the ladder has a couple weak spots, there's like a plank or
Reinforcing.
two that can buttress it.
All right, so
Okay,
let's work our way back. Right, so we go past the antechamber, which Sten is considering as a potential place to camp, and you get back to the bottom of this about 30-foot drop that you made your way down. And who's my crafter now? I know who it used to be.
It would be Silva, but she is way too beat up for that right now. She is struggling.
I have a point in crafting,
So it's gonna have to be
and
and our
Osric.
strong boy.
and I are strong.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
Osric, you kind of half climb up some of the of this kind of earthen incline and start checking out these ladders. Go ahead and give me a crafting roll.
Oh,
Look at that.
Look at you with 2
I like it.
successes.
Like I was
Bet you
planning
didn't
on
know
being
that
able to
Ostrich loves
swing
You
my
guys,
hammer.
when these rolls matter, you guys are so screwed.
yup.
So Osric, you start checking them out, and there's 3 different ladders, and your initial assessment is, I don't feel comfortable with one of these. But if I take the left side of this one, and maybe some of the rungs on this one, and maybe a piece of the third one, and if I were to put it together, I could put together a reasonable, possibly like a 4 or 5 inch wide, pretty sturdy thing that I would walk on for 10 feet. For that second success, I'd let you make that successfully.
Sweet.
All right. This sounds like a plan.
And let's go ahead and assume, Silva, you have got maybe some hammers, some nails, some small rope and things that would Osric could use.
Yeah, I can spend a willpower for that if you want.
No, I think that's easy. Let's
Okay.
let that be in your magic pack there.
Sounds good to me.
Cool.
Now the question is are we going to spend a quarter day building that and getting us to the 4th quarter, or are we going to try to rest and do this in the morning? What are we thinking?
If we're beat up, maybe we do that in the morning because, I mean, if what's on the other side is friendly or nothing, great. If it's not, I'd rather.
Yeah. And odds are that's not. You know, every good comes with bad, and
Yeah.
And we
No,
need
water
a
and food
quarter
comes
day
with
to
something.
make camp before we rest. Is that
Before you
right?
can rest, right?
I mean, I can make camp while you make the ladder.
Yeah, I think I think that Osric wants to get this done
Mm-hmm.
rather than waiting, and so even if it means that I'll end up being sleepy tomorrow, that's more. It's more important to me to get to move forward
Mm-hmm.
than because right now I don't need to rest, and I know that they need to rest, and that's fine.
All right.
So
All
I
right,
think that's
let's do a make camp with Sten.
All righty. Da-da-da-da-da. I have a thing for that now. Let's see, it is survival, and now I have quartermaster, so I'm adding a die.
Nice.
I was going to ask if you're allowed to use the tent, but you probably can't use the tent in here.
Probably not.
I don't need no stinking tent.
No, you're good at this.
So we see Sten kind of clearing away some areas, trying to find some relatively rock-free, flat areas as he tries to make camp. Osric, we have you kind of on your knees with some tools, trying to piece together this plank using the best of the 3 ladders. What are Silva and Vasilla doing? Are you both gonna?
I'll keep watch.
One of you
Okay.
keep watch. Okay, so Vasilla, give me a keep watch roll.
That is scouting.
Mhm.
Hey,
Whew.
saw a lot of those ones first.
Mm-hmm.
So we got Vasilla keeping watch. Silva, you've got a free quarter day. You can
Yeah.
either rest now. Well, rest now, but you'll still be sleepy because you don't have a camp.
Right. No, I actually had a thought. While Silva has a brief moment. And I figure she's kind of staying with Osric as he's working on this makeshift bridge. She's kind of offering him some of her gear out of her pack. And I think if you'll allow it, I'd like to take this opportunity to kind of I think Silva kind of makes a deal about, I've got all this stuff and it's great that I have it, but sometimes it's just like getting the right thing at the right time. It's just real difficult. I wish I could pack things a little better. This big strong guy, he seems to have, his head on his shoulders about
He knows how to
a
pack things.
well packed kit, and I got things everywhere.
Welcome to Forbidden
I would-
Lands. Here's your pack rat talent.
I would like to try to train Pack Rat essentially by talking to Osric through this process of him making a bridge.
I'm very good. What do you have in Pack Rat, Osric?
He has 2 ranks.
Who I have in Pack
Yeah.
Rat.
So
2 ranks
yeah.
sounds correct.
You can go ahead and give yourself 1 rank of Pack Rat
Fantastic.
and spend the willpower or the experience, obviously.
Done and done.
Yeah,
Are you
new
able to get?
character.
Did I make it visible so you could drag it to yourself, Nate?
Maybe.
Let me see here.
It's like, that is not a talent.
Drag it. I got it.
You got it. Okay. Beautiful.
Ah.
Right. So that's going to get us through the first quarter, the third quarter. Now,
Keep watching scouting.
I think so.
keep watching scouting. Yep. Hey, Sean. Thanks for the sub.
All right, so some of us need to sleep, right? And some of us don't. I mean, we all eventually need to sleep, right? But
Yes.
Well, and this is the last quarter of this
This
day.
is the
right?
last quarter.
So
Yep.
I think what's going to happen is you 3 are going to sleep, and Osric is going to keep watch.
Okay.
All right. So let's mark you for sleepy, Osric, and then go ahead and do your
Mark
keep
me for
watch.
Sleepy.
Sten, Silva, and Vasily, you guys heal up.
Is that an Is that a roll somewhere else, or do I just click scouting?
I mean, you can do it from the
Yeah,
party
you can do it
sheet.
from the travel sheet.
Scouting is fine.
Does it make a difference?
No.
And we will suggest that he's not going to wear his great helm for this process.
Yes.
It's a good idea. Highly recommend it.
not that great, is it?
Oof. Sleepy is wits damage too, huh? Yeah, cool. This is where we're at.
Okay.
All right.
I gotta get that second ranking quartermaster going.
Is that where you no longer?
Is that
have
where I
to-
give bonuses to people who are keeping watch in a camp I made?
Oh, that does sound
That's nice.
nice. I didn't say I was good at keeping watch.
Just so that you would.
That I was
But you
going
did
to do it.
volunteer.
So there's two things I want to do real quick. One, I want to do a little bit of vignette with Osric working on the makeshift plank. Silva's there, pulling goodies out of her bag as Osric says, hey, you don't happen to have one of these, do you? And we see Silva packing and unpacking, packing and unpacking. Osric's like, well, if you put that at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make a lot more sense? And yeah,
Like,
Silva,
the
Such a
rope
good
doesn't have to go
idea.
in the bag. It could loop on the outside. It'd be a little easier to get to. And
But I guess what I also am wondering, and the answer could be no, but this is a solid 3 hours where Silva, you've had a chance really to have some one-on-one time
Mhm.
with people that are very new to you. And the only reason you're here is because of what our lovely guide suggested that you come help them. Is there anything you'd want to know? Any questions you might ask Osric?
I think she really just kind of starts off asking, like, well, and it'd be kind of in the natural flow of, as we're going through, like, well, where'd you learn that? That's a great idea, and you seem very, very skilled in building things. Like, what'd you do before you were out here in the wilds?
and Osric is. I feel like Osric is often short and a bit. He's certainly not the most talkative sort.
Hmm.
But he does explain that he was a city guard, and there are a lot of things that you have to know how to do. There's always work around the town in terms of making sure that the fencing is solid, making sure that the gates are working, and all those sorts of things. And in fact, like ladders for guard towers are in fact a thing that we have to work on. And so it's always maintenance is a part of the job.
It's all the little things you don't think of, isn't it?
It is.
It's incredibly noble. She like hands him a hammer.
Ball of twine.
The next thing I'd like to know is, as Sten and Silva and Vasila are sleeping, Osric, you get a sense of time passing, and though all there is torches, by the way, give me a torch roll. You get a sense of morning. And is there, that was weird, it's not the forbidden die. Just rolled the D8, isn't that weird?
Oh, it looked like the forbidden die to me.
Oh, it did? Not for me, isn't that weird?
Weird.
What are you doing now that you've built this? You've kept watch,
Mhm.
and people are starting to wake. Is there anything we're doing? How do they find you as they start to wake up? Is another way to phrase it.
Well, I think he's sort of like pacing about a bit. He's not just sort of sitting still. He's I think the reason this didn't work out as a success is because he's actually more watching over them than watching over watching out. But I think there's a like a nervous energy about we every moment we're waiting is another moment that someone could be in real trouble, and we've taken too long to do this already. And I think as the shift ends, I think if there's I can imagine that he would do like a rudimentary prep on rations to sort of have we're not cooking. I'm not going to cook a meal. I'm not going to make coffee. I'm not going to do those sorts of things. But I imagine like hard rations, and it's set out and sort of ready. So it's like, okay, you're up. It's time. Let's go. Here's your food. It's time to move on.
Being very drill sergeant.
Yeah.
So the three of you wake, and it's
Oh,
quote
good.
unquote morning.
All right. Well,
And sleepy is wits damage, right?
I'd have to look it
Yes.
up.
I'll
think
look it
so.
up. It's no big deal. Don't worry about it. Keep
Pretty sure
going.
you take one wits damage.
I think I do.
Man,
well,
Osric, your cooking leaves something to be imagined.
Well, I didn't want to build a real fire, so and certainly I'm not the cook that Aldrich was.
Yeah.
Or is, I guess, would be a better word to say.
That's fine. We'll get there.
Yeah.
It's all about practice.
But you did a good job with the ladder, so
Mhm.
All right.
Hoping.
So I guess one of us will stand here with the torch, so we have light across the bridge, and then we'll
Mhm.
cross and then light a new torch on the other side, assuming it doesn't smell like death
Seems
and fire.
reasonable. I mean, this thing looks pretty sturdy. I mean, if I was nervous about it, I'd say Vasily should go first. But I'm happy
Well-
to go across first if you want.
And to be clear, there's going to be a roll. It's going to be a
Mhm.
move roll,
Mhm.
because this is not, a 4-foot wide bridge with
Right.
railings.
Right.
This is going to be a little bit more toe to heel
Mhm.
crossing.
Well,
Let's see. I was thinking we'd be shimmying across this bad boy.
You could also do that
Osric
as
might
well.
be doing the crawl. Yeah.
mhm. Mhm.
I think.
I don't know if there's any safety measures we want to put into place.
I mean,
I'm
I'm
sure
pretty movie, so I should be able to get across.
We can always tie a
and
rope
then
to
I
your
can bring
waist.
I can bring a rope with.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna
Like-
say if we need to add a rope to the situation, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, I think so.
So let's do that. Let's
Yeah,
tie a
I
rope
guess
to
so. That
you
way-
across first.
Mhm.
I can help pull you up if something
Yeah.
tragic
And
happens. I was
then-
thinking I'd go first only because I don't really want you alone on the other side. But
Mhm.
I can
Well,
see why.
You are also the biggest of us.
Yes.
so.
Right. And then we can
Not that I'm saying I don't trust your craftsmanship.
hold the rope both sides so that
Mhm.
we can use it as a guide.
Right, exactly.
So in one corner, we see kind of Vasilla tying this rope securely around Sten.
Mhm.
The other part of the scene, I think, is Silva and Oscar kind of bringing out their new creation that Silva assisted with that Osric built. And it's surprisingly awkward if you've ever tried to do this, trying to get something across a
Mhm.
10-foot span. And there is a moment where Osric finally is able to, it's very unbalanced and surprisingly heavy when unbalanced. You get it right to the edge, it touches the edge, and it just kind of gives a little bit and starts to slip down. And Osric
Mhm.
just pulls heavy and is able to stop from the entire thing falling into this cavern and is able to lift it up and just get it nice and secure.
Maybe we tie the rope to the ladder.
So let's start with Osric. You have got part of the rope wrapped around yourself. Sten's got it nice and tight, secured to his waist, thanks to his work and Vasilla's work. And we're going to have Sten work his way across this makeshift bridge.
Sure, just a regular old move roll.
It's a good old move roll.
Alrighty. Okay.
So how does Sten get across?
Sten, as befits a man of his age and dignity, is very cautious. He's sort of like, he probably starts out, kind of with all of his weight on his back foot, just putting the foot forward and kind of leaning forward and testing it. And then once he's kind of confident that it's not just going to snap under him, he just probably kind of crouches and almost duck walks across, keeping his center of gravity very low, keeping himself balanced out. He probably stops every once in a while and waits for things to settle and then moves on. But he's I guess businesslike about it is the best thing to say.
And I would also imagine, obviously, you're keeping heads forward, right? The worst thing you can do from a balance perspective is look down at your feet. That's going to throw
Right,
you. If you look
exactly.
straight ahead, you're
Also, if anything's across there, I want to know about it before it gets there.
Yes,
and obviously this has been built well,
Mhm.
but the bowing that it does
Mhm.
when you have only wood below you, no stone on either side of you, the
Right.
bowing is concerning. It groans a little under your
Mhm.
weight, which it'd be great if it didn't, but you do.
Yeah.
You make it all the way across. So now we have a situation where we've got Osric, you're holding one side of this rope. Sten now has it on the other side. Sten, it's very dark from where you are.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does it still smell methane over here?
It does. It does. It fills this whole cavern. So lighting, keeping the torch in kind of the tunnel area seems relatively safe. Otherwise, you'd already be dead.
Right.
But the strong smell that you had on Osric's side, you also have on this side. Now, if you kind of start walking towards the continuation of this tunnel, you can
Mhm.
tell that the smell dissipates in the same way it does on the other side.
What I'll probably do if I have enough room with the rope is kind of go forward to that tunnel area where I don't smell it anymore, like light a torch and just put it on the ground over there so we can see what our destination is.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's light that torch.
Alrighty.
no one
You
will see
seem...
that.
Look, man,
No, it's
I
not
want to
wrong.
see them.
So from where the three of you are, you see Sten kind of go off into uncomfortable darkness. It'd be great if we
Mhm.
could see him, but luckily you're keeping the rope taut enough, Ostrich, that you can tell that when the monster grabs him and drags him, it'll pull on the rope. when you can no longer see Sten, you see a flint flash, and then a and you see him light up
As the room explodes.
on the other side. Now, Sten, from where you are, your vision is even farther down this tunnel, and I don't know, maybe surprisingly, it's not that deep, this tunnel. In fact, you can tell it immediately opens up to another area.
Okay.
And from where you are, without going into that area, it's very similar. It's that unfinished earthwork type cavern, so not naturally forming. You see the water. There's like almost like a small stream that's running across perpendicular to you on the floor of this cavern. And it seems to be running from right to left, so coming out of the wall towards the right and running into what you now see is a continuation of the cavern to your left. And the smell of that mushroom
Mm-hmm.
is strong, but from where the light is, you don't see any type of fungus that could be generating that smell. But you do see the water you heard.
Okay. Well, that's something. All right, so I'm gonna go back to the ladder and get my friends across before doing any more exploration. But I will, once I'm back there and set, I will be keeping my eyes on that tunnel in case anybody else comes to look at the torch.
Beautiful. All right, so who wants to do the next move roll, but you're going to get a +1 die gear bonus? We've got Osric holding one end, Sten holding the other.
Why don't you go ahead, Silva?
Alrighty. Well, here we go, I guess.
Do we have another rope, like so that everyone can go with a rope tied around them?
I mean, I can make that happen.
Yeah, so Osric, you have a second rope that's now tied to Silva.
I'll spend the willpower for this one and go back into my pack. I think I've got another one packed in here somewhere. Wait.
How
You
much
said
rope
put it on
do
the
you
side
carry?
here. You never know. You never know.
I mean,
She
you're not wrong.
ties
not
off the
complaining.
rope and hands the other end to Osric. All right, here we go. Add a +1. And
Oh no.
Hmm.
we will push it. Nope.
Oh no.
So
Well,
Silva is about halfway across. And Silva, we're going to have you slip and fall off of this thing,
Mhm.
but I don't know why that happens. So you're about halfway across, and why are you falling off?
I mean, she's carrying a giant backpack across a 4-foot rope bridge ladder. It's not her center of gravity isn't the best in
because you
this
packed
particular
it
scenario.
differently, and now it's top heavy.
The weight's off a little different. She's not used to it, so
All right,
not making this crawl.
So I need a strength roll, and I'm going to have Osric make the strength roll, but a +1 from Sten,
Mhm.
who has the other side of this rope.
Make the argument that it's a might roll.
Yeah, what did I say? Strength? I meant might. I'm sorry.
Yeah, might is the skill. Which
Yeah,
Yeah.
might's the skill.
All right, and you said I can get a +1 from Sten.
Mm-hmm.
Good old buddy Sten.
Thanks, Jen.
I hope we don't lose her.
I mean, if you rolled badly enough, you could also have lost Sten. But...
So Osric,
we could all just go tumbling down. It's
as
just
you're
Priscilla.
standing there, you've got wrapped around you, you've got the rope that's like the rope ladder. You've got the other rope that is literally tied around Silva. I've got Silva's feet coming out from under her as she falls. She has grabbed onto the rope ladder rope, and you have her tied. What are you doing?
Like I feel like it's to pull the rope tied around her waist like as taut as possible, while maintaining the same level of straight across that we have with the ladder rope, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So basically pulling up any slack that I can pull up to try to help stabilize her in terms of a third point, I guess, of stabilization, if that makes sense.
It does. And Vasily, you can see, instinctively Osric's digging his heels into the earthen ground below his feet, and starts to drag towards
Yeah,
this
I'll grab.
edge. And you grab onto his waist. And whether that stopped him or if he was going to stop on his own, it doesn't matter. As far as Vasila is concerned, I think Vasila
You
saved
made the
day.
difference.
That's right.
That's right.
Saved the day again.
Silva, you are hanging.
Mm-hmm.
You've now got one arm. I've got you then grabbing your second arm on the rope. You've got the rope tied around you that Osric has brought pretty taut, but you are halfway across this. It might as well be a bottomless cavern as far as you're concerned.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, good catch, gentlemen. Well, let's see about getting across, I suppose.
And it's meticulous, hand over hand, no rolls needed. Silva, you make it across. Quickly fall to your hands and knees once you're on solid ground. You untie the rope. Osric is able to pull the rope back in case we want to tie it to Vasila.
Oh, I'm sure we do.
I'm gonna tie a knot before I go around you. That's the one that Sten is holding, so that Osric will have a knot tied around him,
Mm.
and then we'll tie mine, and then I will go. And I was like, "All right, see you on the other side, buddy."
Make sure you give
Careful,
yourself a
lass.
+1 gear bonus.
+1. So I'm trying to move with a +1 gear bonus. Rolling.
Hey.
Cool.
No banes or anything for me to have fun with.
Nope.
What-
Want to push it just in case?
So Vasily, you have no difficulty getting across, but how does that feel after what you just witnessed? What Silva had to go through.
So I think I'm really doubting the help that we got sent. Like, we just lost one of our good buddies, and like we're gonna continue on and keep trying, and it's just like it's wearing away at my confidence here. Like, this lady is not it.
Damaging your calm.
She did help build the ladder.
Right. So I think
You just can't operate.
she had things in her pack. She sure did. So I think what I'm like, I'm not even paying attention to like I don't think I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. I think I'm like having like a conversation with my mom in my head about like snotty, like really like shitty mean girl style, like about Silva,
Oh, jeez.
because I'm like, for real? Like, we're fighting all this danger and we get a lady with a pack. She can't walk. She can't fight. Like, she's got a donkey.
Silva sat on the other. She's sitting down on the ground on the other side, just like face has gone pale, just kind of breathing, and just kind of looks up. Just good moves.
Yeah. You're all right, sweetie.
And Sten just kind of looks over, like I imagine Silva sitting down, and Sten just kind of looks over her head at Vassie and is just like,
I like,
remember the arrows, Sten.
right? Like, no. I give you when I get across, I fish out of my pack, like I untie myself and I fish out of my pack like a lozenge that like has a little bit of a calming agent. I give you like what would be effectively a CBD treat. Here you go.
Oh God.
"Oh, good, we're giving her edibles now. That'll
Not
turn
like
out
not like
great."
a full CBD, but like
Fair.
like a little calming agent in there.
Herbal,
for
an
the
herbal
old
candy.
nerves.
Thank you.
All right, so now I need the last big one, which is the move
Oh.
roll
The big
without
one.
a gear bonus.
It's terrifying.
From
It's
All right,
Osric.
so I'm going to like hold on to the rope. I wanted to check real quick, and I should have done this while
Actually,
watching Silva's.
when you hand Silva the candy, I think Silva would stand up, kind of pop it in her mouth, and then she'd be like, I can take that rope, dear.
I'll let her take the rope.
She kind of wraps it around her arm real tight. Like, worst case scenario, if Osric falls, she's at least not going to let Osric fall.
Right. I'm wondering
You
if like
return the
when
favor.
I'm wondering if like when he starts running, we should all just start running in the same direction to have momentum
Just
on the
heave.
road.
Like I really think like he would not run like this thing is like
No, you
like a
you
tiny
shouldn't.
little ladder, right? Like I feel
Mhm.
like he would literally shimmy all
Mhm.
the way. Like there's no need to make this
Any
uh
worse than
you
it
know
is.
a balancing act as well. Like I feel like he's not nearly as dignified as Sten is. If that makes sense, right? Like it is much more important to him that he make it across. Dave, are you looking for a thing to impact my
Yeah,
roll?
it's all combat related. The rules are all combat related, so I'm no
Okay.
good.
Then
Good.
I will roll
Good
my
luck.
move.
We're all counting on you.
I mean, you.
No!
Oh no.
So the good. Oh god, both of those are Banes and.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Uh
Yeah,
huh.
that's fine. It's totally fine.
Is it
I feel like there's actually if you like we go back to like episode 2, this exact same thing happened
something similar
to
for sure?
Eloy, where he was going
Oh.
across a little bridge and
Mhm.
slipped and then passed out.
Nice callback.
I'm gonna
You
push the
are
roll because I can't fall.
Mhm.
you're underestimating the power of Jim to
Oh, you absolutely
climb.
can fall. Let's be clear.
Well,
But
that's true.
You
But I'm
certainly
gonna push
could.
the roll to try to roll again, and
oh,
look at that sweet,
well,
sweet willpower.
So I need who's stronger, Sten or Silva? Who's got higher might?
Silva,
uh,
I'm sure.
okay.
I'm a 4.
Yeah, go for it.
All right,
You're
Okay.
you
better
get a
than me.
you're gonna get a +1 from Sten.
Might
So
roll with a +1.
yeah, add a skill die for Sten.
Well, alrighty, here we go.
This would be a good roll to make.
Ha
Yeah.
Oh,
Look at that.
ha! I think the moment she sees him start to go down, she just heaves. Like
Yeah.
she's like, I saw this coming. That bridge is treacherous.
And I feel like
and
this
now
isn't the
she has
first.
justified her. Her
Yeah,
pressure in
and
the
I feel like
party.
this isn't the first time that we have seen Silva's strength and
Mhm.
how she almost her body belies this strength, and it's a little shocking. And we saw Osric, his heels kind of dug in and get dragged a little bit when Silva drops. We see no give with Silva. Silva, this thing goes taut, and we see Osric just like a pendulum just go right into your side on the wall. And Sten, you go over maybe to start to help Silva pull Osric up, and
Mhm.
you just see Silva start to hand over hand on her shoulder.
She's like, I got this.
Yep, just starting to drag Osric up. And we see Osric's hand reach the edge.
Mhm.
Go give him a
And-
hand.
Well, then, yeah, I will go help him rather than her.
And we safely get across. Are we going to leave the bridge in place? Or are we going to pull it back? What are we doing with this?
I feel like
Get
you
Maybe we
spicy and
could-
just kick
It
it.
over. Yeah, sure. Yeah,
let's not get crazy.
yeah. I say we bring it over because just
Pull
in
it over to
case.
this side.
Yeah.
All right,
Makes
if we
sense to
think we
me.
can successfully do that, let's do that.
Done.
Cool.
I'll once we get that moved up, I'll just walk up to Silva and be like, "Thanks, that means a lot."
Yeah, well, he didn't let me fall, and I certainly wouldn't do the same.
Yeah, two sides of the coin.
All right, then. That was terrifying.
Silva, you kind of pack away your ropes. They go back in your bag. Sten, you head back to the torch that's been lying on the ground there in that hall. So let's have the 4 of you at or near that torch in this tunnel that leads to another chamber that seems to have a creek in the middle of Stone Loom Mines.
Cool.
And no visible mushrooms yet.
Correct. But the strong smell of it.
All right. Well,
Are there any like in this area other than a stream? Is there dwarf-made accoutrement?
No. So this is obviously was unfinished areas, right? Where they had not these dwarves had not finished. The Merimanians Marrowmanian dwarves had not finished this mine. This has been dug by dwarves, but that's not because of something you see. That's just more of what you know. So no, there doesn't seem anything distinctly dwarven.
Right, but just know, like, I said dwarven made just because we're in a dwarven caverns, but like, it's
No,
not like a
no
wheelbarrow.
crafting
There's
thing.
not like,
No artifacts.
yeah, cool. All right, so I'll grab the torch again since that's my job, and reload my sling so that it is ready for action, and then head off
And
down the stream, I guess, right? Because there's like
there's
we're
only
in
one way to go to the left, right? Like the
cave
running
in,
water is coming from like
out
a
this
hole in the
way.
wall.
Exactly.
Is the hole big enough for like me or my companions?
No, you potentially maybe could have like fit a leg in there, or maybe two of your arms in there, but it's more of a crack that's kind of in the wall itself.
Yeah, I will not
Just
be
big enough
shoving my
for
leg into the
monsters.
crack.
Just big enough for monsters.
Stick an arm
to
in there and
sleep
see what
through, it's
happens.
fine.
What's the horror movie I just rewatched? The Descent.
That's your sus,
Sense,
yeah.
yeah.
No, thank you.
Nope.
So you guys make it into this chamber, and it opens up. It's about a 10-foot ceiling. The ground kind of rounds to the walls a little bit, so it's even more unfinished than some of the areas where you've come from. They really haven't finished defining these walls. You see the water coming through this crack off to what would be your right as you were coming in, and it runs, and it's been running for a while because you can see how it's worn the ground and created really a small stream down there, wide enough and deep enough you could take one of your canteens and even fill it. That much of a water is running, and it runs into a tunnel that's off to your left, but it doesn't run far. In fact, it runs under the large wooden door.
Large wooden door, you say?
Hmm.
Marked at all?
It is not marked. It's steel banded, and there doesn't seem to be any type of handle or anything. Though, taking a look to the left, you can see where it's been roughly like kind of a stonework hinge. So you can tell that the door swings and the water runs under it.
Any light coming, reflecting off the water?
Yeah. Yeah. A flicker almost of fire.
And it opens toward us. Is that right?
Best as you can tell, it would open away from you. So into you would push this door, not pull it.
Craig, at any point when we were talking to our late dwarf friend, did we get his name or their leader's name or anything?
You have the leader's name.
You did, yeah, Milva.
Milva, yeah.
Okay. Well, somebody want to see if that thing opens, or should we just knock?
I think Osric will draw his axe. And then I guess probably his axe and his shield, and then give the door like a shove towards, like, if we know that the hinge is on the left or the right, then the other side to push that door open. I don't think I want, like, I don't want to ram it. I want to push it and make efforts to not make extra noise.
So you
see
start.
if it moves.
Yeah, Osric, you get to this door and you kind of put your shield up against the right hand side, right, the opposite side to where these stonework hinges are. And as you put the initial pressure on it, you can immediately tell just by the sound your shield makes against this wooden door that it's a thick door, right? And so you kind of do the little first test, and you put a little bit of weight into it to give it another test, and it moves. but then stops. You can tell something's blocking it. Something has stopped you. So it's not a situation where you weren't strong enough. Everything says whatever's blocking this or stopping this, if it wasn't there, the door would have opened. So it gives just a little bit, enough to tell you that the door functions, but then it stops.
And that was one door, not the other door, right?
It's the only door.
Oh, so it's not double doors. It's just okay. Kind of look over and go.
I'm gonna listen quietly and see if I can hear anything to go with the fire.
No, you don't hear any fire. Really, the only thing you're picking up is the water, the sound of the water as it trickles across the room you're in, and then into under the door.
Do I feel like it moved and then hit something?
Yes.
Like a bar or like a cave-in?
Tough to tell.
Hard to say.
It didn't move far, so I think either are possible, Stan.
There's something else I was going to ask right out of my head. I don't know. Okay, and it has no ring on this side to open it, you said. And no symbols anywhere, no like markings. All right. Well, everyone seems ready, so I'm gonna.
This might sound weird, but like, how much clearance is there between the water and the door?
Not much. Not much.
Okay, but like, if someone were to say, fold a piece of paper with a message on it into a crude boat, would there be enough room to sail?
It'd make it. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how likely, if there's anyone there, how likely they'd be to notice it, but it might be a quieter way to get their attention if they're who we think they are. But I don't know, maybe knocking is just better.
I'm good with at least knocking once.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will keep an eye on back the way we came in case something else hears that.
Who's knocking and what are we saying?
Oh, what are we saying?
We come searching for Melba's party. We are friends searching for Melba's party.
Seems reasonable.
Sure, go for that.
We're here to talk to you about your mind's extended warranty.
Has anybody talked to you about essential oils? So you give it a knock, and we hear Vasila talk over Osric. Osric was going to say something, and then Vasila goes, "Hey!" and says,
She's very good at projecting. We know
we're here looking for Milva, friends of Milva. It's quiet. Everybody's like leaning a little bit in Scooby-Doo style. You can tell the door is thick because the voice is muffled, but you can still hear it. And it is a woman's voice, though it's a deep, deep female voice. I have no friends in these mines. Let's take a 10-minute break. So you hear this deep woman's voice saying, I have no friends in these mines.
Do you have friends with yellow eyes outside these mines?
Who are you speaking of?
They go by many names.
Marigold, Daub.
Did he send
Right.
you?
Mm. Yes.
So you can hear the creaking of wood against wood. Something is sliding behind that door. And you hear someone pulling on the door. And after maybe 3-4 seconds of that, you hear the same voice go, could you help?
Osric?
Yeah, I'll give the door a good hard shove.
And it doesn't take that much of a shove, Osric. I think which surprises you a little bit because you were being asked for help. So I think you felt like this would be I need to really put some shoulder into it, but you quickly figure out you don't. And as the door swings open, you've got quite a sight. You can see the stream continues through this room and carries itself and kind of goes into another crack that's been over time been worn away in the other side of the wall, but it creates this really wonderful sustaining apparently stream running through the center of this room. You also get a sense of where the fungal smell came from because the walls are lined with mushrooms. And you can see an area that is cleared away. And you see another area where the growth of the mushrooms is a little bit less than the other part. So it would appear that maybe they're eating from this part of the wall, they ate from that part of the wall, and now it's starting to grow back. When I say they, it's quite a sight. Standing there in nothing but rags is a dwarven woman. And I'm sure at some point she had a strong, square stature. But now she looks like a gust of wind could knock her over. Her cheeks are fully emaciated. Her arms, you can see just the skin is almost so tight it's clear against the muscles in her forearms. Behind her, there are 5 other dwarves. None of them even standing, all in a very similar condition. Grossly emaciated. A paleness, placidness to their skin. You can see for some of them, their hair has started to fall out. One of them is missing a leg, and you can tell by how it's been closed and how it's been secured that this is a wound from the mines, not a wound before the mines. And as she sees you, she stands there and she says, is it safe?
No. But there are no enemies at your door.
Have you talked to the girl?
Not yet. We have not found her yet. But this can wait, ma'am. Can we help you?
We need to get out.
Yes.
But we didn't find the gem that Dolp sent us for.
Well, you're not going to find it in this condition.
The ointment did not make us invisible. It didn't work. I don't know how long we've been down here. But when we met the mother, we just ran and ended up here, and thank Horn, the growths were here. It's kept us alive.
I'm gonna move in towards her slowly, and like help get like, you know, like clearly offer to help get underneath her and help her back over to her companions
And,
if
and
she allows me.
she accepts it immediately. And as soon as she has something to put her weight on, she does, right? So startles you maybe even a little bit how quickly she accepts your help.
Yeah, I'll we'll let's give you a small ration of food and a little bit of taste to your tongue, and we'll find a way, ma'am.
Yeah, so maybe we come in, if they don't object, and
Mm-mm.
close the door behind us.
Yeah, and you can
then-
see the mechanism that they had built behind
Mhm.
this door that's essentially a slide where they had chipped away part of the stone frame. So you want to slide and lock that, and she kind of gestures for
Yeah,
you
I
to.
do.
Yeah, I'm gonna get her down, and I'm gonna get to my companions and be like, "Do not give them food. Let me handle this."
Yes, ma'am.
And I will give them food and sustenance and some kind of painkiller that just kind of like help with their digestion, right? Because
Mhm. It's going to be an impact on the system.
yeah,
Yeah, and when that door closes, they definitely have a fire going. It's a very small fire by the water, but there's also a slight bioluminescence that's also coming off the walls that gives a bit of an ambient light as well. It would not be pure darkness if the fire went out.
your brave companion told us you were here.
You saw him.
He passed away fighting something.
You see her kind of nod and close her eyes a little for a moment.
You should be proud of him. He was an inspiration.
He's the reason we came back.
And then I'm gonna make some tea. I'm gonna start making some kind of like tea that will help kind of prep their systems as best as possible, and nurse them as best I
Mhm.
can.
Every dwarven eye is fixed on you, Vasilla. Not only because I think of the kindness and the tone of your voice, but you're now preparing tea, right? So there's now aromas that have now filled this room that haven't filled this room for who knows how many months. And you have an almost uncanny fixation on every move you make, though nobody's really talking. You definitely get a sense that it's probably good you didn't come down here a month later.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna, as I'm doing it, I'm gonna start. Let me check my willpower. Like eventually, obviously, we're gonna need to. I have no willpower apparently. Okay, so but I won't do any kind of magic singing, not magic singing, but especially potent singing. But I will try to lift their spirits, just kind of like subtly, small ways. Just kind of give them comfort and hominess, and kind of,
How are we gonna get them across this bridge?
Let's mark us a quarter day here. Because it sounds like we're not going anywhere immediately, right?
Mhm.
no.
Yeah.
So let's go to the second quarter of the day, and there is time for each of you to do something as part of this quarter day. So if there's anything that you want to do that takes a quarter day, we can do that.
My focus, at least the Basile's focus, is entirely on nursing and getting them to be healthier. Obviously, they won't be healthy in 3
Yeah,
hours, 4
it's
hours.
more keeping them alive than making them healthier, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would encourage Osric to get some sleep.
That probably is a good
Yeah.
idea.
And I would imagine after all the time you've spent in these mines, that closed latch door might be the prettiest thing any of you
It's
have
so
seen.
nice. Yeah, for sure.
There's no random holes in the wall. No
There's a
drafts,
river
no
running through this room,
methane.
Craig.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Speaking of which, you guys can all top off your water rations if you're not already
Okay.
at a D12.
Full.
Gear. Hey.
I think as he finds himself a corner, he Osric will say to what's her name again?
Milva?
Milva. He'll say it after I rest a bit. We need to talk about the mother and where I can find her.
And she closes her eyes a little tight and she kind of shakes her head in a no gesture, but she's not saying no to you.
Hmm.
But this is not, you can tell by her physical reaction, this is not a conversation she's unwilling to have. It's a conversation she may not want to have.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'm gonna I'm gonna look at Oscar like, and I'm like,
Like,
don't worry,
seriously?
it's fine. It's fine, Mama. Like,
Yeah.
he needs rest. You need rest. This is not the time yet. It's fine. Breathe.
Sten is probably a little too wound up to do much of anything here. So what he's probably going to do is just kind of wander around the place, look at the mushrooms, make sure they're not going to do weirdly hallucinatory things, check the water, just see if it seems, I mean, obviously it's not nutritious, but I mean, if he's expecting any other side effects from whatever they may have gone through here, and
Yeah,
also make sure there's no other ways in here that we can avoid.
definitely secure. Definitely secure. There must be somewhere cracks behind these mushrooms. It's hard to tell, but smoke is not filling the room.
Mhm.
So there's some sort of ventilation happening, which is good because fresh air is good.
Mhm.
The survivor in you, Sten, takes a moment and go, yeah, if I was going to pick a room to be stuck in for multiple months, this might be the best room in a mine you could
Certainly
find.
the best one we've found down here.
Yeah.
So far,
Between
best
between
one
the
I've seen.
calories from the fungus and the having the
Mhm.
water there and the fact that there's fresh air, then not too shabby and a secure door.
Mhm.
But no, there's nothing that makes your spidey senses go off at all, Sten.
Okay. Cool.
Anything before we close out the quarter day?
I think Silva would be kind of milling about as well, but she's kind of eyeing up and down, looking for maybe supplies that she thinks would be good to reinforce our bridge. Essentially, since we have a party of dwarves, we're thinking we might have to get across it. So, like,
Mhm. And at least one
maybe if we
is
have to disassemble
pretty
the
hobbled.
door and
Mhm.
use the parts from the door to craft or essentially reinforce our bridge, that's potentially an option. Things like that.
Yeah. So Silva, looking at the door, it would take a good bit of effort because of the iron banding to take apart that door, but it would be doable. That could happen. As far as supplies in that room, there ain't squat left in that room.
Got it.
They are barely clothed. Um, you haven't asked the question. No one's offered this information, but based off of the discussion with Marigold, discussion with the Raven sisters about when the dwarves passed through their town, they've been down here for 13, 14 months.
Mm.
Jeez.
Wow.
And you count 5 plus 1, so 5 plus their leader,
Mhm.
Milva. 8 came down.
That's honestly a better ratio than I would have expected.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
About as good as can be expected.
What's next?
I think that's the 4 of us, right? Sleep,
Mhm.
fuss,
You turn
plan.
your sleepy off, Ostrich.
Scout.
That didn't work. I will turn my sleepy off. Maybe.
It is. It just took care of it. The rest
Okay.
should have said no longer sleepy. You're good.
So
Oh,
Craig,
there you go.
how long do
Just
I
say that.
think? Obviously, it's going to take like a long time for these guys to get back to like full health, right? Like perhaps never. But how long? I just don't. I don't know enough about like concentration camps and like starvation. But like,
Right.
is this like? Will they be able to move themselves in like a week? Is this like they're SOL for like 2 or 3 while we try to get them fed and moving?
So, and we're not going to get too nitty gritty here, right?
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
If you're looking for them to improve, right, to be better, that's not days and weeks. That's probably months.
Okay.
Now, I think just the fact of the lift from the spirit of the fact that there are new faces here that are friends that are taking care of us. I mean, that's going to bring a certain level of adrenaline level energy to them. So your assessment, Vasilla, is I'm not looking forward to this, but we could get them across. It's gonna take some time and attention and some faith on their part.
Mhm.
There's also something that kind of rattles in your head a little bit too, Vasilla, which is we haven't asked them if they want to leave. The only thing she has said is it safe?
Well, I think once they're fed and recovered a little bit, then we can start having those conversations.
Right. I'm gonna once they've gotten to be a little revived spiritually, if not physically, I will kind of get Melva to kind of away from her compatriots a little bit. And once Osric is up from his nap, and the 5 of us will, sit down and have the uncomfortable conversation.
What do we want? What are we asking, Melva?
So, Melva, we're going to get you out of here, but you guys, when I say that we're going to get her out of here, does she like respond to your? We're going to get you out of here, but you guys came down and we came down to handle the girl, right? To figure out what's happening with that. I know you don't want to, but can you tell us what you found?
We have met Marka, Zygerfer's wife. At least what she is now. Have you seen the worms?
Giant burrow through the walls.
Us dwarves call it the abyss worms. They can be in the mountain. If left alone, if you don't dig near them, they have no interest. Marta is one. Some demonic, twisted version of an abyss worm. The child, and I misspoke, Martea is the wife's name. Sorry, Marga's the daughter's name. Everything's an M now, not Z.
But at least we have variety.
Well,
An M's like a sideways
there's
V.
still
A Z.
there's still the Z's in there, right? It's like wife of Zygofer and daughter of Zygofer. It's fine.
But the daughter's worse. The daughter is unformed, but still with a child's mind. I don't think it knows what it's become.
We heard it talking in the chapel.
They're both very dangerous. We lost 2 to Martea. And this is the only place that the daughter can't get to us. Martea mentioned the stone to us. It's in her lair.
Ugh.
But you want to leave this place. There's only death down here.
Yeah.
I will tell every one of my people that we abandon the mines. We never reclaim this. This is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we were to purge the demons from this place, the ghost would never leave. The only thing that should happen to these mines is they should be collapsed.
So I think what we'd like to do is, as soon as you think your people are as well as fit to travel as they're going to be, try and get you up and out of here. I mean, I'm sure you remember it's a hell of a climb, but obviously you can't stay here.
Where did you find her? The demon worm?
She's past the water. Depending on what stage things are, you'd have to empty the reservoir to get to her. But she can be anywhere. She can be in the walls. We got attacked once by just a regular abyss worm. But she's almost twice the size. And it's what she says that's deadlier than what she's capable of. She'll tell you that she can save you. She'll tell you that she can protect you from her daughter. And I think she believes that. But that's just death. So, if we want to get us to a position where we collectively, the 4 of you, would say, if we're going to do this, we can do it now. It's going to be, I want to say it's going to take about 2 days. 2 days of almost mentally preparing this group to get mobile, which we can fast forward through. So if there's things that we want to do before we do the montage, we can. We also will then end up with 8 quarter days, 2 of which you'll spend sleeping. You can don't need to take water rolls. And if you want to eat the mushrooms, you don't have to take food rolls.
Yeah, I mean, this den didn't see anything that looked dangerous about the mushrooms, just not enough to subsist on for extended
Correct.
periods. Okay. Yeah, then I think we can do that for a couple days.
I feel like we should still need to roll food to allow them to have more than just like we don't want to take.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to share our food with them, I think.
So whatever we need to do for that.
So you've got 2 days worth of rolls to just for each one of you to feed yourselves. Now, if you want to roll beyond that, that completely makes sense to me, right? Under Vasila's care of onboarding them into non-fungal food.
Sure.
But yeah. So and I'll let you again. You guys don't have to roll for water.
Right.
You don't have to roll for torches because they're burning this fungal. That's how that fire in the middle is kept.
Okay.
So we need to decide what we're going to do. If we're going to try to just get them out, leave them at the entrance, or going after the mom first. Or if we're going to go after the mom.
Well, if we decide to do that, I don't think we can do that while we're babysitting a bunch of badly wounded dwarves.
Oh, no.
I think we need to get them out and then figure out what we want to do.
At least we know where we're going this time.
Yeah.
So you're thinking up and out and then back down?
I'm thinking up and out, and then we'll have a conversation.
If we take them out of the mine and leave them at the entrance, I don't know that they're in good enough health to actually survive.
Maybe if the sisters are still there, they can help them out.
No, what's his name? I don't remember. Dave doesn't remember the child's name. They left with
Rook.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right. They had that.
Now,
well,
if you get just so you guys know, because you guys know this, right? The characters know this more than maybe the players do. You can get them to the top there, set up camp there. It'd be a half day down and back to go to the sisters' camp and to bring sisters back, right? So you would be able to, in a reasonable amount of time, you know, get the path to safety and freedom and health that these
4
dwarves
days, 5 days, because it take us 2 days to prep, a day to get them up, roughly.
A couple days out.
It might be 2 days, but yeah.
Get them up, so it's a week. 2 days, a day to go get the sisters and come back.
Well, once we get out of here, I don't get the impression that the things down here are going to change too much, so I don't know we're in a special hurry once we get them.
Yeah, we're not in a rush.
The
This is the
dwarves
biggest time
themselves
crunch we had.
were the rush, right? As far as we know. I mean, something could be looking for this gem that is worse than the thing that apparently already has it. But,
Great.
That's a whole different problem.
Okay. So I'm gonna spend. I have like no experience or willpower, so I think I'm in the world of just like tend to my charges. Basile's pretty upset about the whole thing, so just like very, very focused with all of our attention on getting these guys spiritually and as much nourishment as can.
Yeah. Sten is probably going to take a little time just to pick up the second rank of quartermaster because he has the XP for it.
What's that?
And then it basically, when I make camp, anyone who is keeping watch at that camp gets +2 dice.
Oh, nice.
2 dice.
I know.
That's
it
nice.
seems highly relevant to our interests.
That's nice.
So I've upgraded that. Yeah, and then other than that, I will, share my food under Vasila's, nutritional pyramid guidelines as to what they should have.
All cookies.
Cookies.
Maybe some soup.
All right, so I'll need at least 2 food rolls from anybody who's not eating the mushrooms.
All right.
And then any additional food rolls if we're going to be sharing.
I'm going to make 2 for me.
The mushrooms. Since not strong enough to carry my own
and
food.
Then I'm going to share. There's 4 dwarves.
6 dwarves all day.
6 of them. All right, so I'm going to make 3 food rolls to help them out. So there's 1 I lost. 2. Yeah, okay, that's fine.
How about you, Osric?
So here are my 2. And I think that 3 sounds like the right answer. I feel like Vasila's been eating my food, and I know that we don't want to take that. They're rationing these mushrooms in a way that makes sense.
I'm good at mushrooms. I'll eat mushrooms for the 2 days to make our stores last.
So that's 5 for me.
So that's the dwarves.
Silva?
I think Silva probably do like a day on the mushrooms, try them out, maybe kind of intersperse it, essentially kind of do like a 50-50 with rations. Just to kind of keep it interesting and also to save on her
And
her
Sten and
supplies.
Osric have covered the dwarves at this point because they're not going to eat a full ration.
Yeah, they're like
Right.
half.
Yeah. So you just need to do the one roll.
Yeah.
So everybody is fed. Everybody is liquid. Unless there's an objection, I think to a certain degree we montage the let's pick up camp.
Mhm.
Yep. I think so. Over those 2 days, you, if we can like get more, whatever you guys need to get through that door to make us be able to cross that ledge, right? That's up to you guys, you craftsmen. But they cannot, they cannot cross the way we crossed.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
We can
I'm not
barely
convinced
cross the
we
way
can
we
cross
crossed.
the way we crossed.
And
So
we are going to have to get up the cliff if we can make some kind of chair lift.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Silva, you being the crafting expert here, it would take several days to disassemble that door into any type of material that could then be repurposed.
Okay.
The dream of some sort of chair lift, that's gone. In your mind and collectively, probably the best bet is a dwarf on your back and then navigating up. Right, the cliff is not so steep that you can't climb it, and they would maybe not be able to climb it on their own, but with a dwarf on your back, you could probably get up there without too much difficulty.
Sure.
Yeah, we've already got a rope coming down, so we can use that as a starting
Yeah, I think the
point.
big challenge is going to be getting him across that chasm.
Mhm.
And I think one of the biggest points that's been brought up is the timer's off now.
Right.
Right?
How did they get across this chasm?
That's what cut down they had a plank across that they cut out, so they
And
were
they
So
use that to make the bar.
and that's the conversation. They pulled together some minecart materials to build that bridge, and they were using this as a home base for a period of time as they were exploring these mines because they found it. It was a store where they could
Mhm.
safely close the door at period and rest. When they met the mother and then realized what the child was, is when they destroyed that bridge and holed themselves up there. And in Milva's mind, we were going to survive as long as we could, but we had a mutual pact that when the end of days were coming, we would end ourselves. And they were getting there. That was days away, not weeks and months away for them at this point when you found them. What they were not going to do was leave this room. They encountered the lizards that you encountered. They encountered this insectoids. Those they all dealt with. They fought the one abyss worm, which they talk about how they didn't really fight it. That there's a certain level of cohabitation respect that they have as mining dwarves with these worms. They talk about how they negotiate with it and they give it way and they allow it to be it. And we are digging in its world. But when they talk about the abyss worm that this mother has become and this formless thing, demonic thing that this child has become, the words are very short, they're somewhat cryptic, and there's a palatable fear and a trembling that comes from their voice.
Well,
so we montage those couple days. We see the door being opened. We see us moving the much larger party now out. torches are lit, but left in the hall. We get to the edge of this cavern. You pulled Osric's bridge over to your side. Osric, once again, you lay the bridge down to span it.
Mhm.
The planning begins. Give me an idea, like procedurally, what are we thinking? What is the best way to make this happen? The bridge is down. Silva's got the rope we need. How are we going to pull this off?
So I
Given how
think
well we pulled this off last time, is that
are the dwarves mobile themselves?
So you are confident if nobody's timing them, they could shimmy themselves across this bridge on their own, on the thing. What they're not going to be able to do is take advantage of a rope a rope
Right.
railing of any sort. So you're definitely going to want to tie them down.
Yeah. And I figure if we've got two of us on either side, we
I'll
can
walk with them because
like
I'm
do
light
yeah, there you go.
and
Yeah.
I can guide them, and
Mhm.
then that gives them a support buddy close, and I can use two ropes to like guide myself so that I'm
Mhm.
stable,
Right.
and then we'll have you tied to us so in case bad
Yeah,
stuff happens.
I think
Does that
so.
make sense?
Yeah, and I think this was a big part of the conversations that happened over these 2 days was
Mhm.
the four of you at different points talking together as a group, talking with
Mhm.
Milva, talking one-on-one at times, saying like, how are we going to pull this off?
Mhm.
And you put it together, right? And to the point over those 48 hours, you've come up with a very procedural. We're going to do this, then we're going to do this, and like you have planned this out.
Yeah,
So
and if anything attacks us while we're crossing the bridge, this is what we do. The people around the
exactly,
bridge
yep.
lay down. Yeah.
We're going to want to make sure Sten is here. Sten's got his
Mhm.
bow ready. We're going to have
Mhm.
Sten do this first, and so on and so forth. Like you've had time.
Right.
Yeah.
Before I forget, during these 2 days, one of those quarter days, I think I'm going to spend some XP and get my second point in Axe Fighter.
Good plan.
Does that give you?
That gives me, when you hit an enemy with your axe and inflict at least 1 point of damage, you automatically inflict a critical injury.
I like that.
Woof.
Because
Look,
axes
Osric isn't taking any names anymore. He's done with it.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So that's, I think, the plan.
So talk me through the very beginning of this procedure. Osric and Silva get the bridge across. Is it get Sten across first?
Yeah, so same thing. We're gonna get Sten and then
Mhm.
Silva. Sten's the lookout. Silva's our strong point, as she's demonstrated.
Mhm.
Then we get the two ropes tied off, crossways, and then I start shepherding dwarves.
So the montage ends after Sten has been roped up. Sten is standing on now your side of this cavern. Sten, that wood plank is in front of you.
Mhm.
The light from the torch behind you lights just enough to get to the very edge of that door.
Mhm.
You start your kind of crouch down,
Mhm.
tentative sliding out. Your back foot is still over stone.
Mhm.
Your front foot is now slid out over the wood and over the cavern. When you see the bone hand reach out from the other side of the cavern, and from the darkness, we see a dwarven helmet with just darkness behind it and the bony hand. We fade to black. Lettering comes up. Forbidden Lands will be back. We'll go to credits.
my own clarity. We think the dwarf is on our side.
No, he's
There's-
on the opposite
He's on the
side.
opposite
It
side.
is on the opposite side. We're back. As I intimated, we're going to take a season break here. So this is the end of season 2. I checked the calendar. April of 21 was the first session
Wow.
of Forbidden Lands. So it's been 2.5 years of playing this
Wow.
game. I had someone DM me at some point recently asking, how long do you think this is going to go? And I mean, the answer is as long as I think we want it to, because if we think of this as a MacGuffin gathering, which we've kind of picked up on at this point, we have just started that part of it. But I have been very happy with the pacing. I've been very happy with what has unfolded at this point. Quite frankly, these characters need time before they could ever get to the quote unquote climax of this, right? Which is all obviously there's a big bad out there. We kind of get a sense of what it might be and who it was or is now. And they're still not ready for it. So anytime they can spend getting stronger, better, and gathering these stones is well spent. So by far the most successful session in the Stone Loom Mines. I think that's a
Yes.
fair statement.
Ugh.
You were very kind to allow us to fail those rolls to cross and still make it across.
Well, I made those decisions. It was going to be a move roll. If the move roll failed, then we needed a might roll. You didn't want to fail that might roll.
Right.
You.
Yeah, if we had
All
to
right.
run across that bridge, it would have been a
Oh,
different
God.
scenario.
Well, don't say that because we still may have to, depending on how this situation goes.
So patrons of Third Floor Wars have a Discord that we all collect on, and it's the only Discord I spend any time on for obvious reasons. But I really enjoy the quality of the community. There was a question that was posed by one of the patrons, says like, what's the deal with Forbidden Lands? Like, you guys talk about some of these really kind of more modern games all the time in this Discord, but I keep hearing Forbidden Lands talked about. This is a very honest assessment. It reads to me like very traditional OSR type game. So like, what the hell? So I think I want to answer that question. I think that's what I want to do instead of stars and wishes here is, obviously we've got 5 fans of this game. So we'll start with you, Nate. Why not just play old school essentials or any of the other OSR fantasy games out there? Is there something about Forbidden Lands that's a little bit different for you?
I don't know if there's anything specific about Forbidden Lands. I mean, I'm attached to it in a way since it's the game we've been playing for 2.5 years. So I don't know that I would, put it any. I don't have a lot of context for other games like that as well. So
Right.
like, I wouldn't put it on
Well-
a specific pedestal. But I'm enjoying it. I love it. It's fun.
Let me phrase it different for you,
Sure.
Nate, because that was pretty open ended, which can be tough.
For sure.
What if at the beginning of season 3 I said, guys, I've been thinking about this. I'm going to take this out of the game. Starting season 3, what would I say that would make you go, yeah, no, Craig, no, don't take that out of the game. That's important. So is there an aspect of this game that if it was removed, you would really miss?
Oh, this is an easy one, Craig. This is an easy one.
Do we want to start with Jim? He seems
I mean,
to
Yeah,
find
go with
that the
Jim.
best-
I'm curious what
chomping at the
Jim's
bit to
thinking.
answer. I wrote this one out in the chat too. The attributes and the way that they are your health and the way that they are spent as a resource is a thing that I think this game and the story we're trying to tell in it, it would not be the same.
How
Yeah.
so?
I think that what it does is it makes every action serious, right? Like every action, like failure is not just I didn't do it. Failure can become I didn't do it and I can't do it, right? Like
Mm.
I can't swing this axe anymore
I
because
hurt
I just
myself.
took 3 banes on strength. Now I'm like in a much worse place, and I think that like you see that in the push rolls and that stuff, right? It's all about, well, I can't push this roll because this roll is not is not where I can't, right? Or, oh, I should probably risk this one because it'd be really nice to get that second point of damage, and oh wow, now
Mhm.
like I'm never gonna hit this guy again now, right? And
Right.
that it it I think that is a critical part of what Forbidden Lands is trying to do. And I
I
think if you just stayed at I'm always at 5 strength, I'm always going to roll 5 dice or something to that effect, right?
it'd
Like
break
that
the game for you.
it would not be the same, and I feel like it would not be this place.
Yeah, I could not agree more, Jim. And I think the salt on the rim of everything you just said is the willpower mechanic. The
Mhm.
Yeah.
fact that if you get those banes, that's how you acquire this very powerful willpower. And if there's anything the five of us have learned over these last two and a
Mhm.
half years, is how powerful those willpower spends are.
Mhm.
And so I think that's a really interesting, that whole ecosystem and that whole push and pull that happens between the banes and the damage and the wearing down, the mechanically handling of wearing down. Like you have pushes in basic role playing in Call of Cthulhu, you have pushes, but the only direction is that if you allow the push, you just got to make sure the failure is going to be worse than failing without the push, which GMs can make that happen, but it's built in. It's built into this version of Year Zero. All right, how about for you, Brian? What could I tell you I was going to take out of the game that would make you go, yeah, Craig, can you give me a quick call?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is I'm glad you didn't present this as we're going to do some OSR gaming, because I would have noped out first thing, because I
Why
have
is that?
no interest in. I just have no interest in that, because I was there when the old Magic was written. You
Yeah.
know, I played Dungeons and Dragons, no version number, no prefix, just D&D,
Yep.
and I don't want to go back there, because we've come so far. But it's just like Jim was saying, the mechanics in this are so well put together. I've run Coriolis. I've played and read a number of the other Free League systems with the same basic engine, and Forbidden Lands is just far and away the best implementation. The way every role matters. It's everything you guys are talking about, the ecosystem and the economy between failures and willpower and banes. I it is making me love a game that is not something I would have expected
Yeah.
to enjoy.
Uh,
That and the cast obviously is a huge factor.
that's obviously right. The table always makes the difference, right? You can have
Mhm,
the shittiest system and still have a good table.
mhm,
Um, so the way I think where I am on the Year Zero thing is I agree. I think the best implementation of the Year Zero engine so far that I've come across is Forbidden Lands. Very interested to check out The Walking Dead, which I just got in the mail. Because I flipped through the PDF, but whenever I get the PDF, I'm like, I'm gonna wait for the book because I'm a
mhm.
weird old guy. Um, I think the coolest implementation of the Year Zero engine is in Blade Runner, though.
Mm.
So for those of you that like Forbidden Lands, I backed Blade Runner out of love and loyalty to the company. Like I had no interest in playing Blade Runner, that world or anything. What I read about how it was mechanically adjusting and implementing the Year Zero engine didn't interest me. It's badass. It's a great game. It's a great system. I got a chance to play it on Anthony's channel, Runeslinger's channel. Huge fan. It's very clever and very different. Like I could I could run you through Blade Runner. And if I never mentioned Free League and never mentioned Year Zero, there's a decent chance you wouldn't realize it's a Year Zero game. But when you know Year Zero, then you do see it. So it's very good. But this is still by far my favorite. How about you, Dave? What would I take out of the game that would make you call me up and go, no, Craig, that's a terrible idea?
So I don't think it's a takeout. I think it's a strength that has been taken out of the system, and that's because I hate dungeons and accounting. Like
Mm,
I hate it so much. I don't want to play inventory management. I don't like. I just don't. No, thank you. I don't want to do it in a video game. I don't want to do it in make believe time. Like I don't.
Mhm.
Hard fucking pass. And like that's enough of it that like weight matters, right? Like we
right.
were joking, like getting pack rat is super freaking useful in a way that like you read the book, you're like, no way. I'm like, I want the axe talent. I can chop people's heads off. And you're like, actually, I need to pack my things better because
Mhm.
Because
I
I
need that,
can't carry the axe.
right?
Right.
But I'm not like, oh, I have 3 gold pieces which weigh this much, and I remember to stock up arrows? Like I made my rolls. I have them. I don't. I really dig that.
I dig that too, Dave. And I think what I dig the most about it is how unpredictable it is.
Yeah,
Because believe it or not, I find that more realistic
yeah,
than what Brian and I used to do playing no version D&Ds. You go, okay, how long is it going to take us to get there? 4 days. Okay. How much is a day's ration? It's this much. I'm going to go buy that many days rations. That's going to get us there
Mhm.
plus 2 more just to be safe in case we get
Mhm.
slowed down. Now we don't have to worry about it. But that's
right.
not the way the world works, right? Sometimes the food gets spoiled. Sometimes, and so and it gets back to what Jim talked about, which is like even when you're rolling for torches, you're like,
Yep,
please don't be a 1 or 2. Please don't.
right.
Like every roll seems to freaking matter
Yeah,
in this
the
game,
first
which
roll,
is
you're like, I'm on 12, it's fine. But like, you catch a little bit of run and bad luck, it gets rough.
It accelerates quickly.
it
Right, and
does.
I think it all ties together. It's kind of like what you're saying, like the push and pull, like the system. Each individual rule is like, okay, okay, cool, whatever, But like,
Mhm.
it's the combinatorial
Yeah.
way they go together. So like Jim's like each roll matters. That's because his first character, when we played this for the very first time, almost died picking berries, right? Um, and then like we ran out of arrows in this game, right? And so I think that's the survival aspect of
Yes.
Forbidden Lands that lands so super well to me, is that it's survival without like having to do dungeons and accounting, right? Where
Yeah,
like
it's
you
handled in a way
normally
that
get
isn't
it
cumbersome.
exactly. So you can have survival and exploration and not be like, oh, well, the DM screwed us because now there's rats, that ate our food. Like
All
that's
right, Nate, you went from first to last.
Yeah. Um,
Still got nothing.
Well, I think Nate's perspective is unique, right? Because he doesn't have that fantasy
Mhm.
baggage that I think a lot of us do when we come into this game. It seems like this is really not only a relatively new system for you, but it's a new form of role playing or genre
mhm.
of role playing for you. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, that's entirely reasonable. I think kind of what the the thing that would be like, I'd kind of raise an eyebrow if you were like, I'm going to remove this. I think it's the if you were to say no, I'm going to essentially like not even necessarily like a railroad, like but like plan and structure everything to like a more if you said you were going to put more structure and line things up in a way that like this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. It's like, but there's that charm of like, I'm walking through the woods and I don't know, the weird talking fox shows up. Was that planned? Was it not? Who knows? Dice are funny like that.
What I think is neat about that, Nate, and if you ever get a chance to not play the game, when you look at the book itself, I think the DNA of that is in the how the adventure sites are built.
Right.
And there's a lot of games that have changed how I run other games. This game had a huge impact on how I run other games. I have ditched story. What I now do is I build adventure sites for all my games, which is here's a place, here's who's in that place, here's all the shit going on in that place. Now let's introduce the agents of chaos, which are my players. And then let's see what happens. So, my prep for today, now granted, this is 32 sessions in, right? So I don't want to proclaim this as some sort of great thing. I mean, I know the world, I know my table, I know the players. But my prep today was watching the last 45 minutes of the last episode just
Right.
to make sure I understood where we were. And I feel like I've got all of the tools at my disposal to lay track just ahead of you as we play. And I think that's structurally built into how the game is designed, which is very, very cool. All right, some quick plugs. Brian, talk to me about a board game podcast.
I mean, I will talk to you about a board game podcast. It's called The Ascent of Board Games. We do a monthly episode about the history and development of board games. But what I really want to plug this month, because I don't think it's getting the attention it deserves. If you have Netflix, go watch Blue Eye Samurai. It's one of the best series
You have
I
not
have
shut
watched.
up about
I,
this
it's,
show.
it's that freaking good. Just let it go. I mean,
But I
listen
don't
to the
know. I
podcast,
don't know
but watch
why.
the show.
But why? Stop, Brian.
I'm interchangeable at this point. Not only is it I mean, physically it's beautiful. The animation is this fascinating sort of 2D 3D blend.
Ooh, nice.
The voice acting is amazing. There's all kind. I mean, Kenneth Branagh's in the cast. There's a lot of really high end big name people here, but it's the writing that really gets me. It's a story about people who don't fit in, people who are half one thing and half another, which is kind of explored in various ways throughout the story. And it's so well made. There's an episode in the middle, which is told in two different time periods. There's like what's happening now and what happened in the past, and there's this framing device of a bunraku puppet play that is tying them all together, and it is so and you're never in any doubt as to what's going on and how it connects. It's
cool.
absolutely the most brilliant episode of TV I've seen this year.
Look at you. Very, very nice. Nate, what's your plug, my friend?
You know what it is. It's Steam Powered Scoundrels. Go listen to our silly Malifaux content if that's your bag.
Dave, what's the most recent cool thing that you've played, watched, or read?
I'm gonna go with going back and listen to Parliament, man. Like that was a recommendation off the Discord, and like it was grooving, dude. It
It's
was
so good.
solid.
Yeah, there's 3 Parliament albums that you can listen to back to back, track 1 to track 12 on all 3, and there's not a single bad song on those 3 albums. And every time the next song comes on, your smile gets a little bit wider and a little bit bigger. You're like, oh, I love this song.
Yeah, it was good. It was high quality recommendation.
Was that your first exposure to Parliament?
I mean, I knew their big stuff, and I'm probably have heard their stuff like just in passing, but I had not sat and listened to an album, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. It does make sense because it's different than just hearing like a random clip from a song and stuff like that. Yeah, I recognize that song, and then like going into the cosmos on the mothership is a totally different
The mothership was so good, and the song names are so silly, and it's just like so like aware of itself in a way that like we're gonna funk you up. You're like, it's like talking to yourself. It's like talking about yourself in the third person in a way, but musically, it's very.
And then they do it.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's got a bit of a panache. It's like.
Well, and Brian, back me up here. What's crazy about it is there's a humor and a laissez-faire feeling about all of the music.
They don't take themselves seriously, but they take the music seriously.
They do, and that's the key: is that they are unbelievable musicians. They are so good at what they do.
And I love bass, man. I love I just like good bass makes or breaks a band, like in my opinion. And
I mean, you're not wrong.
So good.
Yeah, I mean,
the Brian breaks everyone.
Bass
and if
players
you're
are assholes, but
well, sure. I will say, if you're enjoying that, spend a little time looking at Tower of Power as well.
Okay. I don't think I've ever listened to Tower of Power.
No, just listen to what is hip and start there, and
look at you. All right, Jimbo, you got a plug or something that's been keeping
I got
your
a plug.
interest?
I'm going to plug Print Inkling today. They do screen printed T-shirts. They do stickers, dice bags. They're another small creator I found on Twitter. It's TTRPG / the big game D&D hobby related stuff like that. So and they seem like super cool people.
All right, we're gonna close out. Before we close out, I just realized that there's people watching that don't know you, Jim. And by not knowing you, they don't realize your T-shirt fetish. Can we talk very quickly about your T-shirt fetish?
Oh no!
I would not call it a fetish. I own a lot of T-shirts.
It's a quest. It's a quest, Craig. He has a sacred duty.
He has a hoard.
Own all
It-
of them.
but it's a
One of
very
each.
structured t-shirt collection. So very quickly, what are the rules that bind it?
Are there rules that bind it? I
You
don't
have
know.
told me several things like
Yeah.
goals and rules and things that you've tried to
There wa-
achieve in your
there was at
collection
least
of.
a
What I've got
competition at
now
work.
is I
Yeah.
now have, I try not to. I have to cycle through, right, because there's so many. It got to a point where like there would be so many that you'd run a load of laundry, you'd put the same shirts would be back on top of the pile, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had a stack, right? And a stack means you take it off and you put it back on the top. You take off the top, you put it back on the top. So I had to create essentially a
A
FIFO
filing
line, right?
system.
I had to create a FIFO system so that shirts go in and then they get to the bottom, right? So that so I could see them, because it's like, man, I haven't seen that shirt in a really long time, and I like that shirt, but I haven't got an opportunity to wear it. So there's that. I know that I have some coworkers that have suggested they would like me to have a real filing system. I don't have one yet, and one suggested you should have that thing from Clueless is what you need for t-shirts, Jim. And I was like, if that were a thing that you could really have, then yes, I agree. I would need that thing for my t-shirts.
So Dave and I pretend that the reason we look forward to the biannual Camping for Gamers is to spend 7 days out in the woods playing board games with nothing else to worry about. But the reality is that we get 7 days of seeing what t-shirt is going to
Yeah.
be on
Yeah.
Jim's
Like
when he
now
comes
I
out of
have
his tent.
I have like 3 camping specific t-shirts.
Yeah,
Like
outdoor
I absolutely
Skeletor.
I 100% adore outdoor Skeletor.
Yeah, outdoor
And
Skeletor so good.
Mm.
Agreed.
like he's my camping shirt. I have to take him
Yeah,
camping.
that was the winner.
Oh, it's so great. All right, guys, it's going to be a short break, maybe a couple months, but we'll be back in next year. And in the meantime, this hopefully gives you a chance to catch up if you have been trying to catch up. If you are caught up, there's a lot of really good games running on this channel. One of which I'll quickly plug, which is Brian is running us through Trail of Cthulhu, and the cast again on this freaking channel is
Oh, yeah.
amazing. We've got a new player, Mac. She is just teaching us how to play role-playing games by the way that she's doing the work. If you want to check that out, you definitely should. But we'll be here. We'll be back. This is not the end.
We'll be back.
Talk
Thanks
soon.
all.
Howdy, friends. Thank you for watching. All our content is archived and organized in playlists on the Third Floor Wars YouTube channel. Check it out. And if you could like, follow, subscribe, and even set your notifications to this channel on YouTube and Twitch, we'd appreciate it, and it'll make sure that you catch all of our content. I talk with creators, designers, and experts across the gaming landscape in every episode of our podcast, Tabletop Talk. Open up your favorite podcatcher and search for Tabletop Talk from Third Floor Wars. Support your creators. They make the content you love, and it's your support that makes it happen. If you want to help us, go to Third Floor Wars on patreon.com, and you can help us for as little as $1 a month. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Take care.